Welcome back to another story on Infidelity Tales Lab. Before we begin, tell us, where in the world are you watching from? Now, let's dive into today's story. Chapter 1. The Perfect Life. Malcolm Crowley stood in his downtown Seattle architecture firm, surveying the scale model of the Harbor View Medical Center expansion. At 38, he'd built Crowley and Ashley Design from a two-person operation into one of the Pacific Northwest's most respected firms. His business partner, Dan Ashley, clapped him on the shoulder. "You seeing this?" Dan pointed at their computer screen. "The hospital board approved our budget. Full creative control. Malcolm, this is the big one." Malcolm smiled, but his mind was elsewhere. Tonight was Friday, and Olivia had been distant for weeks. His wife of 10 years, once vibrant and affectionate, now spent more time at her Pilates studio than at home. He noticed the late nights, the new expensive athleisure, the way she angled her phone away when texting. "You good, man?" Dan asked. "You've been off lately." "Yeah, just thinking about the anniversary. 10 years next month." Dan grinned. "Big 1-0. Got something special planned?" Malcolm's jaw tightened slightly. Something memorable. That evening, Malcolm arrived home to their Queen and Victorian, a house he'd personally designed and renovated. The lights were off downstairs, but he heard voices from above. Laughter. A man's voice he didn't recognize. He stood in the foyer, his architect's mind already reconstructing what was happening. His sister Erica had warned him 3 weeks ago. She'd seen Olivia at a restaurant with someone young, too close, too intimate. Malcolm had dismissed it then. Now, standing in his own hallway, he couldn't. He didn't go upstairs. Instead, he left quietly, drove to his office, and sat in the dark. The next morning, Malcolm made 2 calls. The first was to Ted Bishop, a private investigator his firm had used for background checks on contractors. The second was to his sister. "I need your help," he told Erica. "But you can't ask me questions yet." Chapter 2. The Investigation. Ted Bishop's report arrived 6 days later in a manila envelope. Malcolm read it alone in his office after hours. Subject: Olivia Thornton Crowley relationship. Extramarital affair confirmed. Partner: Lyle Tran, 25, personal trainer at Elite Fitness Seattle. Duration: approximately 4 months. Frequency: 3 to 4 times weekly. Various locations. Additional findings: subject has been photographed at high-end restaurants, hotels, receipts attached. Credit card statements show unusual spending patterns. Subject has been discussing future plans with partner per recorded conversations at public locations. Malcolm's hands didn't shake as he examined the photographs. Olivia kissing Lyle outside a hotel. Lyle's hand on her waist at a restaurant. Both of them laughing in Lyle's car. A BMW. Malcolm now realized Olivia had probably helped finance. But it was the next section that made Malcolm's eyes narrow. Subject of interest: Lyle Tran. Background: born Lyle Tran, Boston, Massachusetts. Previous residence: Los Angeles, California, 2019 to 2023. Criminal history: none on record. Employment: Elite Fitness, 2023 present. Relationships: currently maintains contact with 3 other women, ages 34 to 45, all affluent, all married. Pattern suggests methodical targeting of wealthy married women. Financial: deposits ranging from $2,000 to $5,000 monthly to personal account for various sources. Malcolm leaned back. Lyle wasn't just sleeping with his wife. He was running a con, targeting multiple wealthy married women simultaneously. Olivia wasn't special. She was a mark. The thought that should have devastated Malcolm instead crystallized something cold and clear in his mind. This wasn't about love. This was about ego, money, and disrespect. And Malcolm Crowley didn't just build buildings. He built systems, planned for contingencies, thought in 3 dimensions. "Keep digging," he told Ted the next morning. "I want to know everything. Every woman, every transaction, every lie." Over the following weeks, Malcolm played the dutiful husband. He came home on time, smiled, asked about Olivia's day. She lied smoothly. Pilates ran late. The girls wanted drinks. There was a wellness seminar. He nodded, kissed her cheek, and went to his home office where he compiled his own dossier. His assistant, Josefina Newman, noticed something was different. She'd worked for Malcolm for 5 years and knew his tells. Mr. Crowley, if you need anything, she started one afternoon. I need you to be discreet, Malcolm said. And I need you to trust me. Josefina nodded without hesitation. Always. Chapter 3, Building a Plan. Malcolm's sister Erica sat across from him at a quiet coffee shop in Fremont. At 42, she was a criminal defense attorney with a shark's instinct for weakness. Show me what you've got, she said. Malcolm slid the folder across. Erica read in silence, her expression hardening. This Lyle character is a piece of work, she muttered. And Olivia... She looked up. Malcolm, I'm sorry. Don't be. Just help me understand the legal implications. They talked for 2 hours. Erica explained Washington's no-fault divorce laws, community property statutes, and how to protect assets. More importantly, she explained what could and couldn't be used in court. The affair doesn't matter much for the divorce, Erica said. But this pattern of Lyle's? If you can prove he's essentially defrauding these women, that's different. And if Olivia gave him marital assets? She has, Malcolm confirmed. $20,000 from our joint savings over 4 months. Small withdrawals. She thought I wouldn't notice. That we can use. But Malcolm, what exactly do you want here? Malcolm was quiet for a long moment. I want them to understand what they did. I want consequences that matter. I want everyone who knows us to see the truth. That's not legal advice territory. I know, but you asked what I wanted. That night, Malcolm met with Ted Bishop again. The PI had expanded his investigation. Lyle's got 3 other women on the hook right now, Ted explained. There's Tracy Gutierrez, married to a tech executive. She's been giving Lyle money for a gym business investment. Then there's Amanda Booth, married to a surgeon. She bought him that BMW. And your wife. What about the 4th? Gladys Cortez. But she's different. She got suspicious last month and cut him off. I approached her carefully. She's willing to talk. Malcolm met Gladys Cortez 3 days later. She was a 41-year-old Microsoft manager, composed but angry. He told me I was special, she said bitterly. That his marriage was complicated, that he was leaving his wife. All lies. When I found charges on his credit card from dates with other women, I confronted him. He denied everything, said I was crazy. She looked at Malcolm. Your investigator said you might be able to help. I can, Malcolm said. But I need you to trust me and wait. By the end of March, 1 month before his anniversary, Malcolm had everything in place. He documented every affair, every financial transaction, every lie. He'd moved most of his personal assets into accounts Olivia didn't know existed, perfectly legal trusts established before the marriage that she'd never bothered to learn about. He'd collected statements from 2 of Lyle's other victims. But the centerpiece of his plan was still forming. Chapter 4, The Trap. Malcolm's opportunity came from an unexpected source. Dan Ashley burst into his office one Monday morning with news. You're not going to believe this. Elite Fitness wants us to design their new flagship location downtown. The owner, some guy named Bruce Driscoll, specifically requested us. Malcolm's mind raced. Elite Fitness, where Lyle worked, where he'd met Olivia. Tell me more about Driscoll, Malcolm said carefully. Rich guy, made his money in tech. Now he's expanding his gym empire. Seems legit. Why? Just curious. Set up a meeting. Bruce Driscoll was a barrel-chested man in his 50s with sharp eyes and a firm handshake. They met at the existing Elite Fitness location. I like clean lines, modern, inspirational, Driscoll explained as they toured. This is my baby, you know. I'm here most days. Malcolm watched Lyle Tran leading a training session across the gym floor. Young, handsome, performing for his client. A married woman Malcolm recognized from Ted surveillance photos. Mr. Driscoll, Malcolm said carefully, how much do you know about your employees' relationships with clients? Driscoll's expression shifted. Why do you ask? Professional concern. I've designed several gyms. Client-trainer boundaries can be complicated. You see something I should know about? Malcolm chose his words precisely. I might, but I need to show you privately. 2 days later, Malcolm met Driscoll at a bar downtown. He brought a slim folder. What I'm about to show you, Malcolm said, involves my personal life, but it also involves your business and potential liability. He showed Driscoll the photographs, the financial records, the pattern of Lyle targeting wealthy married women who were members at Elite Fitness. Driscoll's face darkened. This son of a bitch is using my gym as a hunting ground? And it gets worse. If any of these women's husbands decide to sue, your business is vulnerable. You could claim ignorance, but the pattern is clear enough that a good lawyer would argue you should have known. Jesus Christ. Driscoll rubbed his face. What do you want from me? Right now? Nothing. Just awareness. I have my own plans for dealing with Lyle. But when I'm done, you might want to have documentation ready about his employment, his behavior, anything that protects you. When you're done, what are you planning? Malcolm smiled coldly. The kind of thing that'll make it very easy for you to fire him with cause. Chapter 5. The Setup. April arrived with unseasonably warm weather. Malcolm's anniversary was 3 weeks away, and Olivia was acting strangely, nervous, distracted, whispering on phone calls. He pretended not to notice. Ted Bishop provided the final piece of the puzzle. Lyle's been getting sloppy, Ted reported. He's been telling people, including Olivia, that he's planning something big. My source at Elite Fitness says he's been bragging about leveling up his life. What does that mean? I think he's going to ask one of his marks to leave her husband. Probably yours. The timeline fits. You've got money. She's got access to it through the divorce. And he's been positioning himself as her ticket to a new life. Malcolm felt a grim satisfaction. Perfect. Let him think that. He called Dan into his office. I need to tell you something, and I need you to trust me for the next few weeks. Dan listened in stunned silence as Malcolm explained everything. The affair, the investigation, the plan forming. Holy shit, Malcolm. Why didn't you tell me sooner? Because I needed to be sure, and I needed to be cold about this. If I told you immediately, you'd have talked me into handling it rationally. And now I need your help making sure our firm is insulated from what's coming. They worked through the details. Malcolm had Dan document everything about the Elite Fitness contract, making clear that Malcolm had disclosed a conflict of interest and offered to recuse himself, which Driscoll had declined. They ensured all of Malcolm's shares in the firm were documented as his separate property. They prepared for scrutiny. Meanwhile, Olivia was preparing for something else. Malcolm found a receipt by accident, or perhaps she'd left it carelessly. A receipt from Tiffany and Company for $3,000, charged to their joint credit card. He checked the date. Purchased yesterday. A gift. For him? Unlikely, given the circumstances. He called Ted. Find out what she bought. Ted called back within hours. It's a box. Just the box. High-end presentation packaging. Your wife didn't purchase anything to go in it. The pieces clicked together. Olivia was planning a dramatic gesture. The Tiffany box would make opening it, whatever it was, more impactful, more humiliating. Malcolm sat in his office, staring at the city lights. She was going to serve him divorce papers in a Tiffany box. On their anniversary. The cruelty of it was almost impressive. All right, he said aloud to the empty room. Let's make it memorable. Chapter 6. The Countdown. With 2 weeks until his anniversary, Malcolm made his final preparations. First, he met with Gladys Cortez, Amanda Booth, and Tracy Gutierrez together. All 3 women had been victimized by Lyle Tran in one way or another. I know this is awkward, Malcolm began, but we share something in common. We've all been manipulated by the same person. The women exchanged glances. Amanda spoke first. What exactly are you proposing? Exposure, Malcolm said simply. Complete, public exposure. I'm going to make sure Lyle Tran never does this to anyone again. But I need your help. He explained his plan. The women listened, and one by one they agreed. Second, Malcolm contacted Jordan Hill, an investigative journalist he'd met years ago while Jordan was writing a piece about urban architecture. Jordan now ran a popular Seattle news blog that covered local scandals. I've got a story for you, Malcolm said, but you can't publish until I give you the word. What's the story? Predatory behavior, systematic fraud, and the kind of social scandal that'll dominate Seattle conversations for weeks. Jordan's eyes lit up. I'm listening. Third, Malcolm did something that surprised even himself. He went to the gym. Not Elite Fitness. A boxing gym in Georgetown where his old college roommate, Ron McKenzie, trained. Ron was a construction foreman now, built like a bull, with a broken nose that gave him a perpetually skeptical expression. Malcolm Crowley, Ron said, surprised. What brings you to my neck of the woods? I need to learn how to hit someone properly, Malcolm said. And I've got 2 weeks. Ron studied him. You're serious. Completely. This about that thing with your wife? Malcolm hadn't told Ron, but apparently word traveled in certain circles. Yeah. All right then. Let's make sure you don't break your hand when you do it. For the next 2 weeks, Malcolm maintained his routine while everything transformed beneath the surface. He worked on the hospital expansion design. He had dinners with Olivia where they made stilted conversation. He trained with Ron 3 evenings a week, learning proper stance, how to pivot from the hips, where to aim. You're not trying to kill him, Ron instructed. You're trying to make a point. One good punch, placed right. Make it count. Meanwhile, Olivia grew increasingly nervous and excited in equal measures. Malcolm watched her text constantly, smile at her phone, disappear for hours at a time. She was planning her exit, planning her humiliation of him, planning her new life with Lyle. Let her plan, Malcolm thought. 5 days before the anniversary, Malcolm had Josefina prepare a special envelope. Inside was a USB drive containing every photograph, every financial record, every piece of evidence Ted had compiled. But also inside was something else, something Josefina had helped him arrange. Are you sure about this? Josefina asked quietly. I'm sure, Malcolm said. They need to understand actions have consequences. 3 days before, Malcolm met with Erica one final time. The divorce papers are filed and ready, she said. The moment you want them served, I can make it happen. But Malcolm, what you're planning at the anniversary dinner is going to be clean, Malcolm finished. I'm not doing anything illegal. I'm just revealing the truth. The punch you're planning isn't exactly legal. Malcolm smiled. What punch? Chapter 7, The Anniversary. The night arrived crisp and cool, early April in Seattle at its finest. Olivia had made reservations at Canlis, one of the city's most elegant restaurants, overlooking Lake Union. Malcolm found the choice grimly amusing. She wanted witnesses for his humiliation. He dressed carefully, navy suit, white shirt, no tie. He looked at himself in the mirror and saw a man who'd spent 10 years building a life with someone who discarded him for a 25-year-old con artist. But he also saw a man who'd spent 3 months planning the perfect response. The envelope sat in his jacket pocket, substantial and important feeling. Olivia wore a red dress Malcolm had never seen before. Expensive, probably bought with money she'd siphoned from their accounts. You look beautiful, he said honestly. She did. That made it worse somehow. Thank you, she said, distracted. She clutched a Tiffany blue box. I have something for you. They drove separately, her choice, claiming she had to come from a late Pilates session. Malcolm knew better. She'd been with Lyle, building courage for what came next. Canlis was elegant and understated, the kind of place where quiet conversations echoed with power and money. They were seated at a corner table with a view. Malcolm ordered wine. Olivia barely touched hers. 10 years, Malcolm said, raising his glass. Quite a milestone. Yes. Olivia's voice was tight. Malcolm, we need to talk. We do, he agreed. But first, shouldn't we enjoy dinner? We have reservations, after all. They ordered. Olivia picked at her food. Malcolm ate calmly, savoring each bite. Let her stew. Let her work up to it. Halfway through the meal, Olivia couldn't wait anymore. I can't do this, she said abruptly. She slid the Tiffany box across the table. Open it. Malcolm looked at the box, then at his wife. A gift? How thoughtful. Just open it, Malcolm. He did. Inside, as he'd expected, were divorce papers. Neatly folded, professionally prepared. He scanned the first page. Irreconcilable differences. Request for spousal support. Division of assets. Divorce, he said quietly. Yes. Olivia's voice gained strength, as if she'd rehearsed this. Malcolm, you've gotten fat and boring. Our marriage has been dead for years. You work constantly. You never take me anywhere exciting. You're just done. I deserve more. Malcolm looked down at himself. He'd gained maybe 15 pounds since the wedding. He'd been working hard. Yes, building a business, building their life. Fat and boring, he repeated. I'm sorry, but it's true. I've met someone else. Someone who makes me feel alive again. As if on cue, the restaurant's host approached their table followed by a young man. Lyle Tran, wearing a dress shirt that was slightly too tight, showing off his physique. He had the confidence of someone who thought he'd already won. This is Lyle, Olivia said, her voice taking on a defiant edge. I wanted you to meet him. Malcolm looked up at Lyle, who had the audacity to smile. Not apologetic, but triumphant. Victorious. Hey man, Lyle said, sliding into a third chair at their table uninvited. Look, no hard feelings, right? These things happen. Olivia and we just connected, you know? He put his arm around Olivia's shoulders. She leaned into him, and Lyle actually giggled, a high, nervous sound that grated on Malcolm's ears. The other diners were starting to notice. Malcolm could see the sideways glances, the whispered conversations. This was the humiliation Olivia had planned. Public, devastating, complete. Malcolm looked at the divorce papers, then at his wife, then at her 25-year-old boyfriend. He felt the weight of the envelope in his jacket. He picked up a pen from his pocket. Without a word, he signed the papers. Olivia blinked, clearly surprised by his calm compliance. Perfect timing, Malcolm said quietly. He reached into his jacket and pulled out his envelope. I have something for you too. He slid it across the table. Olivia frowned. What is this? Open it. She did. Inside was the USB drive and a single printed photograph on top, while kissing another woman outside a hotel. Not Olivia. Amanda Booth. Lyle's face went white. What the fuck? Olivia stared at the photo, confusion spreading across her face. What is this? That's Lyle with Amanda Booth, Malcolm said calmly. Wife of Dr. Marcus Booth, thoracic surgeon at Swedish Medical. This photo was taken 3 weeks ago. There are more on the drive. Many more. With Amanda, with Tracy Gutierrez, with... You're lying, Lyle shouted. Several diners turned to look. Malcolm continued, his voice never rising. The USB contains complete documentation of Lyle's relationships with 4 married women simultaneously, including you, Olivia. It also contains financial records showing the money you gave him, the money the others gave him. $20,000 from our account, Olivia. $35,000 from Amanda. $40,000 from Tracy over 6 months. Olivia's hands shook as she pulled out the USB. No, Lyle said. Lyle is a con artist, Malcolm said. He targets wealthy married women at elite fitness. He seduces them, takes their money, and moves on. You weren't special, Olivia. You were a mark. Another revenue stream. She's lying to you. Lyle grabbed for the envelope, but Malcolm was faster. He stood, blocking Lyle's reach. Don't, Malcolm said quietly, and something in his voice, something cold and dangerous, made Lyle pause. Olivia was scrolling through the contents of the USB drive on her phone now, her face going progressively paler. Oh my God, Lyle. These pictures. You said you loved me. Baby, I can explain, Lyle started. Explain what? Malcolm interrupted. Explain the BMW she bought you that you promised was for their future together? Explain telling 3 different women you were leaving your wife for them? Explain the investment opportunity that was going to make you both rich. Lyle stood up suddenly, his chair scraping. You son of a bitch. You've been stalking me. No, Malcolm said. I've been documenting you. There's a difference. Lyle's face twisted with rage and panic. He'd been exposed, his whole operation unraveling in real time. Malcolm could see the calculation in his eyes, the desperate urge to salvage something, to fight back. You think you're so smart, Lyle snarled, stepping forward. You couldn't keep your wife happy, so now you're trying to ruin. He didn't finish the sentence. Malcolm had been waiting for this, training for it. When Lyle's hand came up, whether to push him or take a swing, Malcolm never found out. Malcolm moved. Ron McKenzie had taught him well. Malcolm pivoted from his hips, put his weight behind it, and threw a single perfect punch that caught Lyle square in the jaw. Lyle dropped like a puppet with cut strings. The restaurant went silent. Lyle writhed on the floor, screaming, hands clutching his face. My jaw. He broke my jaw. Someone call the police. Please do, Malcolm said calmly. He pulled out his phone and dialed himself. I'd like to report an assault. The man on the floor assaulted me first, and I defended myself. Multiple witnesses. He looked around the restaurant. Several diners nodded. They'd seen Lyle's aggressive posture, his forward movement. Olivia was staring at Malcolm like she'd never seen him before. What did you do? What did I do? Malcolm's voice finally showed emotion. Not rage, but something colder. I found out my wife was having an affair. I investigated. I discovered she was being conned by a predator who's been systematically defrauding women across the city. I documented everything. I protected our assets, or rather, my assets, since most of our wealth was in trusts established before we married. I filed for divorce first, before you could, and I made sure everyone who needs to know the truth knows it. He pulled out his phone and texted a single word to Jordan Hill. Publish. What does that mean? Olivia whispered. It means that by tomorrow morning, every major Seattle news outlet will have the full story. Lyle Tran, predatory personal trainer who targets wealthy married women. Complete with interviews from his victims, financial records, and documentation of his systematic fraud. Your name will be in there too, Olivia, but as a victim, not a villain. I made sure of that. You're insane, Olivia breathed. No, Malcolm said. I'm thorough. Chapter 8, The Fallout. The police arrived within minutes. Lyle was still on the floor, moaning about his jaw. Malcolm calmly explained what had happened. Lyle had made an aggressive movement toward him after being exposed for fraud, and Malcolm had defended himself. Multiple witnesses confirmed the story. The officers took statements. They looked at the USB drive contents, enough to see this was more than a simple assault case. One officer recognized the pattern. We've been getting complaints about something like this, he muttered to his partner. Guy targeting women at gyms. Lyle was taken to the hospital with a fractured jaw. Malcolm was questioned, but not arrested. Self-defense, witnesses, provocation. The officers took his contact information and let him go. Olivia sat in shock at the table, the divorce papers and USB drive scattered in front of her. Malcolm looked at her one final time. The house is mine. I designed and built it before we married, kept it in a separate trust. The business is mine, protected by prenuptial corporate agreements you never read. The savings account you drained? I documented every withdrawal. My lawyer will be in touch. Malcolm, Olivia started, but he was already walking away. Outside, the cool Seattle air felt cleansing. Malcolm's hand throbbed. He'd probably bruise his knuckles, but it was worth it. Ron had been right. One good punch, placed right. It had counted. His phone buzzed. Dan Ashley. Holy shit, I just saw Jordan's article go live. You okay? Erica, tell me you didn't actually punch him. Actually, don't tell me. Call me tomorrow. Ron McKenzie, heard you use what I taught you. Proud of you, brother. And then, unexpectedly, Ted Bishop. Check the news. You're going to want to see this. Malcolm pulled up Jordan Hill's blog on his phone. The article was already live, already going viral. Seattle personal trainer accused of systematic fraud, targeting wealthy married women. The article had everything. Interviews with Gladys, Amanda, and Tracy. Financial records. Bruce Driscoll from Elite Fitness announcing Lyle's termination and promising policy changes. Even a statement from Malcolm himself, carefully worded by Erica. I discovered my wife was involved with someone who had systematically deceived multiple women. I chose to expose this pattern of behavior to protect others. Within an hour, the story had been picked up by local TV stations. By midnight, it was regional news. Malcolm drove to his office. He couldn't go home. Not yet. That house held too many memories of a marriage that had been dying while he'd been too busy building things to notice. He sat in the dark, looking out at the city lights, and allowed himself to feel it. Not the anger. He'd transformed that into action. But the loss. 10 years. A decade of his life with someone who'd called him fat and boring while stealing from him to fund her affair with a con artist. His phone rang. Josefina Newman. Mr. Crowley? I saw the news. Are you all right? I'm okay, Josefina. Good. Because tomorrow is going to be complicated, and I want you to know I've already drafted responses to any media inquiries. Professional, clean, no details about the personal aspects. Malcolm felt a surge of gratitude. Thank you. That's what I'm here for. Chapter 9, New Foundations. 3 months later, Malcolm stood in the same office, looking at the same city lights, but everything was different. The divorce had been swift and ugly. Olivia had tried to fight, claiming emotional distress, claiming Malcolm had entrapped her. But the evidence was overwhelming, and Washington's no-fault divorce laws cut both ways. She got nothing from the business, nothing from his separate trusts, and was ordered to repay half of what she'd stolen from their joint account, while Tran faced multiple civil lawsuits from the women he'd defrauded. The fractured jaw had healed, but his reputation never would. He'd left Seattle, last seen in Portland, probably looking for new targets who hadn't heard his name. Elite Fitness had hired Malcolm's firm to design their new flagship location. Bruce Driscoll had implemented strict policies about trainer-client relationships and had become an unexpected ally. But the real change was in Malcolm himself. He lost 15 pounds, not because Olivia had called him fat, but because Ron had gotten him addicted to boxing. He trained 3 times a week now, finding clarity in the physical exertion. His firm had landed the hospital expansion project and 2 more major contracts. The publicity from the scandal had been strange. Some people judged, but most admired how he handled it. Methodical, smart, strong. You ready for this? Dan Ashley asked, poking his head into Malcolm's office. Tonight was the opening gala for the Harborview Medical Center expansion, their biggest project to date. Malcolm had designed every element personally, pouring his pain and anger and eventually his healing into something beautiful and functional. Yeah, Malcolm said, I'm ready. At the gala, Malcolm moved through the crowd with quiet confidence. Donors, hospital board members, city officials, all congratulating him on the design. He accepted their praise graciously, his mind already moving to the next project. Malcolm Crowley? He turned. A woman stood there, maybe 35, with warm eyes and an architect's portfolio under her arm. I'm Leona Miner, she said. I'm an architect with Henderson Group. I've been following your work for years, and this expansion is extraordinary. The way you integrated the new wing with the existing structure while maintaining the historical integrity, it's brilliant. Malcolm found himself smiling genuinely for the first time in months. Thank you. That was the challenge, honoring what was there while building something new. Sounds like a good philosophy for more than just buildings, Leona said. They talked about architecture, about design principles, about the way spaces could heal or harm. Malcolm found himself relaxing, enjoying the conversation for its own sake. Can I buy you a coffee sometime? Leona asked. I'd love to pick your brain about adaptive reuse projects. Malcolm hesitated. Then he thought about the past 3 months, the investigation, the exposure, the fallout, the healing. He built something from the rubble of his marriage. Something stronger. I like that, he said. Later that night, Malcolm stood alone on the hospital expansion's rooftop terrace. His personal touch, a space for healing and reflection. The city spread below him, lights twinkling in the darkness. His phone buzzed. Erica, saw your interview on King 5. You look good, little brother. Proud of you. Ron, drinks this weekend? Want to hear about this architect lady Dan mentioned. Dan, beautiful work tonight, partner. Emily and I are heading out, but we're proud to work with you. And finally, unexpectedly, Gladys Cortez saw the hospital opening on the news. Thank you again for everything. You gave me my confidence back. Malcolm pocketed his phone and looked at the city. 10 years ago, he'd thought he was building a life with Olivia. But he realized now he'd been building something else entirely, a foundation. And foundations could support new structures. His marriage had collapsed, but he hadn't. He'd documented the truth, exposed the lies, protected himself, and helped others in the process. He'd fought back, not with rage or revenge, but with patience, intelligence, and a single well-placed punch when it counted. Olivia had called him fat and boring. She tried to humiliate him in a room full of people. Instead, she'd given him the opportunity to show everyone who he really was. Smart, strong, thorough, and just getting started. Malcolm took a deep breath of cool Seattle air and headed back to the gala. There was work to be done, buildings to design, a life to live. The long game, he'd learned, was worth playing. And there you have it. Another story comes to an end. What did you think? I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments below. If you enjoy this story, consider joining our community by subscribing. It means the world to us. For more stories like this one, check out the recommended videos on screen. And I'll see you there.